Good evening and welcome to another in our series of Talk Sports, where we meet and discuss with the movers and shakers of sports, the sportsmen, the sportswomen, the administrators, both past and present. Well, this evening, our guest is a fellow sports journalist, commentator, and administrator. He is Vernon Springer. Mr. Springer is from St. Kitts and Nevis, well, you say St. Kitts, but is joining us from Antigua this evening, where he has been for the past few weeks, particularly for the CG Super 50 cricket tournament and now the West Indies Sri Lanka series. Well, he is the CEO, he's also the CEO and owner of VASports Media, and he will be discussing with us this evening sports in the islands, as we will say, as I now welcome and say good evening to Vernon. Good evening to you, Vernon.
Good evening, my mentor. How are you?
Good evening, Vernon, and thanks very much, and welcome to our program. And we have quite a lot to discuss this evening. No doubt, cricket will dominate, but I want to thank you and ask you first off how things are going. How are you coping?
Well, let me say that I've spent an entire year in Antigua and Barbuda, and as you know, the Leeward Islands Cricket Board franchise is based between St. Kitts and Nevis and Antigua and Barbuda. And so, in preparation last year after the regional photo competition was shut down, the last game was in Antigua and Barbuda. I went back home, and then in January I came back very, very quickly. So I've been here ever since that period of time. Home away from home, but it is. It's great. It's exciting, and I give God thanks because just to be able to the support by the government of Antigua and Barbuda to first of all have regional cricket coming back to the islands, plus international cricket has just been remarkable. And there's been a lot of work behind the scenes, Michael Bascombe, that has really made this possible, made this happen. And so I feel very honored. Last night, I almost had tears looking at the Coolidge Cricket Ground to know exactly what have happened before with Mr. Stamford's dream, Alan Stamford's dream of, reigniting cricket in the Caribbean, and to be able to now see onwards now that the Coolidge Cricket Ground is now an international cricket venue. It was moving for me last night, especially when you had the three anthems being played, Antigua and Barbuda, Sri Lanka, and the West Indies team anthem. That was very, very, very touching.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's very good to know that, Vernon. And first off, as a disclaimer, we must say that while you are an administrator and in the context of a member of the Leeward Islands Cricket Board, your presence here is more so in the context of VASports Media. You'll be speaking on behalf of VASports Media, and we'll be discussing a number of things. As you said, cricket will be in the spotlight, but obviously you have been involved in quite a number of sports up in as we say, up in the islands, as we'll say in the Caribbean, referring to the Leeward Islands. Okay?
Well, we must also, why I call him my mentor, I'm sure a lot of people want to know, well, why is Vernon Springer calling Michael Bascombe mentor? I mean, you're the first person that really helped me through, especially when I traveled out with the St. Kitts Nevis Carifta team to Carifta. You taught me the ropes of, how Carifta work. We went to Panam, we went to so many meets, CSC Championship. I mean, so sport for us is life. And it doesn't matter what sport it was. Cricket mainly is my main field because I originally was a professional cricket coach, and then went on to become a football coach and netball. And because when you're working in the government of St. Kitts and Nevis Sports Department, you have to almost learn all the sports. And one of the persons that told me that from a very early age was Joseph Red Springer. Joseph Red Springer used to come to the islands often, especially St. Kitts and Nevis, and he always used to keep telling me all the time, you have to learn all the sports. You have to be able to make sure that you can go and you can cover most of the sports. So I developed that rapport from Joseph Red Springer to be able to get to understand and got involved in almost all of the sports. And he said, never become one-track mind into just one sport. So that really helped me. So I got into volleyball and got to understand the workings of volleyball, football. In fact, in St. Kitts and Nevis, I served on the basketball, served on track and field, served on cricket, football. So almost all of the administrative aspect of sports so that I could be able to understand the workings of sports. Why I became a journalist, or how I became a journalist, Michael, was the 2007 World Cup. Before that, there were a number of issues. I was coaching, and you're trying to see if you can get information, and you can't get information. And lo and behold, I just decided that it is Clive Bacchus from Win FM. Him and the late Michael King came to me and told me, Win FM was going to open. They want me to read sports. And I said, sports? Well, you don't find time to go deal with sports. I mean, at that time, you're full time into cricket coaching. You go from the sports department to the park in the afternoon, and you're not getting home till like maybe sometime 10 o'clock. And then you got to get back up like about 5 o'clock in the morning, knocking on youngsters' doors to go and train again. I remember my mom, she passed away. And I came home and I told her, I said, these people made me an offer and they want me to become a broadcaster, to read sports and stuff. But I told my mommy I don't have the time. And only one thing she told me, Michael, you better try and make the time. Mm-hmm. And I have no regrets, Michael, because what I think happened is that it gave me a new experience, and Clive Bacchus really pushed me, helped me to go along and go on courses and get to go to Jamaica and learn the art of journalism, and broke down a lot of doors, did things completely different. Sometimes, when I was doing the sports news, it's supposed to be, clip's supposed to be 30 seconds, but the clip ended up longer than 30 seconds because I wanted to make sure that I get Michael Bascombe, what he's saying out there so people go listen and know what's happening. So those are the things that really made you grow. And, why I call him my mentor too, I don't know if you remember when we had the Crifter Games in St. Kitts and Nevis. You remember the Crifter Games was in the Cayman Islands. And St. Kitts and Nevis had the crew to see how the workings were for the Crifter Games in Cayman Islands. And when lo and behold, when we got home, I was alerting you all the time, Michael, I don't like how they're treating the media. There was no space, there was nothing happening around. And that I led a strike. I got beat for that. But I'm a media person. I mean, we were talking to them, we warning them all the time. We said, guys, if this, I remember people coming and telling us that we could sit on in the stands with a laptop on our leg.
Laptop,
and that we led a revolt there. We had a strike for the first day until when the Minister of Sports then, who is the Cricket West Indies President, Ricky Skerritt, came and met with us and asked us what they can do to be able to kind of help the situation. But I warned them. And I got chastised by my colleagues in St. Kitts and Nevis at the time because some folks was telling me, well, you're from St. Kitts and Nevis and you really shouldn't join in them. And I said, no, I am a media professional. And my colleagues here, wherever I go, whether it's Jamaica, Grenada, wherever, we all hold one head and it doesn't matter where. So today, I look back at it and I know that we were united in that stance. Because what we're saying is that don't treat us like little boys, treat us like professionals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and if I may also say that even went, it's now 14 years now because you were referring to Pan Am Games that was in Rio in Brazil in 2007, the Pan American Games. So a lot we could talk about.
Remember even there, both you and myself, we organized ourselves. Remember, we didn't have any bus, we didn't have any own space. We went on a serious campaign. I mean, the English-speaking Caribbean, we had everything for ourselves because we worked out that we had to be recognized as a media.
Media, yeah. We for somehow or the other, I thought we fought for what we call media rights at that time. We were activists in the media, especially in the sports media. But Vernon, importantly though, over the past few weeks, you have been directly involved somewhere or the other with West Indies cricket at the level of commentary. You have been seen firsthand. First with the regional Super 50 Cup, and then now we have the West Indies Sri Lanka. And even prior to that, you would have been in Antigua. You'd have been mixing, seeing the players and all of that involved. So probably from a first-hand knowledge, what's your perspective now in terms of regional cricket, looking at the West Indies cricket in particular, but in the context of the pandemic, because we know we have been restricted in some way or the other. what would you say is the trajectory of West Indies cricket? Do you think it's heading in the right direction? Are you seeing potential? Are you seeing something that you like about West Indies cricket that probably not long from now we will be proud of?
The first thing one has to do is to give credit to the past administration, because they will be the ones who would have introduced a professional setup, which come about of having the franchises. So you have the Windward Island Volcanoes, the Leeward Island Hurricane, the Barbados Pride, Jamaica Scorpions, Ghana Jaguars. So that in itself has mirrored the effect from 2014 until now. An assessment really needs to be made. And when I look at the franchise setup, although players in the Caribbean are earning a living, maybe even more than a bank teller, the time has come now where it needs to be a shake-up, and a shake-up to the point where I have to start to be able to technically look at the coaches in the franchise setup. When you look at some of our franchises, has the franchise system produced a world-class player? When is the last time that we had an international batsman? The last acclaimed international batsman that we would have maybe had would be Brian Charles Lara. The last outstanding fast bowler that we would have had would have been at least Sir Kurt Lambos, and the likes of the Walsh and companies. Since that time, we have really not produced. We have seen glimpses of folks looking to be able to come through that system. So I think the main focus has to be our coaches. And I say that without any water in my mouth. When you look around at some of our players, the basics of, and you watch some of our other international components around us, and you see their players' advancement as compared to the West Indian players' advancement, it kind of leaves you wondering sometimes what is happening in terms of the coaching procedure set up around in the Caribbean. Most of our young players in the Caribbean, Michael, don't sweep. Maybe for one particular reason where the coaches maybe just decide that maybe that is something that they really don't like. I mean, I was on a forum with male and female coaches. The Bermuda Cricket Board invited me, and you had a number of top coaches from South Africa on a Zoom platform, and you had some other Caribbean coaches from around there, including some female coaches. And one coach said, Michael, she don't believe in the sweep, and so she's not coaching anybody to sweep. And you kind of quiver for a moment when you hear that. So when you look around, the players are almost the same to where you're seeing them. So if you see a Michael Bascombe 2 years ago, you would say to yourself, but he really has not advanced. The preparation-wise, I don't think that the players themselves, Michael, are hungry enough. They're just contented by earning something. There are millions out there to be made. But there's some people in the franchise system who are just contented to be able to just make sure that they have a C contract, a B contract, or A contract. It is unbelievable, Michael, that we have people who are in the franchise system who came in on a C contract and have not moved from C, and they're in there 3-4 years. I'm stunned with that. And there are incentives to get them up the ladder, but they're just there. They're on C, they have a contract for 3 years, they've been in the system for 3-4 years, and they have moved. I think it's time to move on, and there have to be some serious structure. The other thing which is alarming to me is the fitness culture. Cricket West Indies has introduced a fine system at the franchise level and also at the senior level. If you fail your fitness test, they take out your money. You tell me, Michael, anybody supposed to take out my money where I'm getting paid for to play cricket and get fit? Who's supposed to take the money? And if you take it out once, Michael, it can't be 2 and 3 times. There are people in the system who fail the fitness test and they're good enough to be able to pass it, but they're comfortable.
And well, I know the fitness test rather has been a contentious issue. Well, I say contentious because it has gone viral now because of certain players who have been who have failed the fitness test, and even though the Jimmy Adams and Roger Harper gave explanation as to the structure of the fitness test and the simplicity rather of the fitness test. There's still those who believe that it's it's not working. But you yourself, you are underground, and you know for that. And I'm speaking to others. I get the impression that players have become a bit complacent. It appears, and that they have not taken the whole issue of the fitness that's serious, and which to an extent, as you explained, has been affecting West Indies cricket. But going back to that point you started to make regarding the franchise cricket too, Vernon, it seems as if you have some um, concerns. I would say, I want to put it as concerns regarding the franchise cricket in the Caribbean and what it has been, achieving in terms of development of West Indies cricket. What are some of these concerns, Vernon?
Well, let's first look at the positives. Devon Thomas played for the Jamaica Scorpions and would have had two of his better seasons because he moved out of a culture from the Leeward Islands and went to Jamaica. If you look at the success rate of, let's say, someone like a Hayden Walsh, who played with the Barbados Pride, he was successful playing for Barbados because they understood him and he learned the craft in terms of what's happening. Nkuma Bonner played for the Leeward Islands Hurricanes. In fact, he even captained the Leeward Islands Hurricanes. So they've been positives. Asad Fudderdin went from Ghana to Jamaica and was successful. So there's success stories around the world stuff. Where I have an issue is the players themselves. I don't think, Michael, nobody is supposed to tell you to go and train. You're getting paid to play cricket. If we look at when West Indies dominated, there was an Australian trainer called Dennis Waite. And those guys, in their time, were the fittest team in the world. Everybody took a model from what Dennis Waite had established. Around world cricket, Michael, contrary to what you might hear in the Caribbean, the fitness test is standard across the entire world. They have certain exemptions, people are exempted, they have their criteria which they put in place, but that is something which is embedded in players' contract. In fact, I was looking at a scenario the other day in Sri Lanka and in Bangladesh, where they have been able to increase more than just the yo-yo test. They have added their own incentives to be able to make sure that you meet the fitness requirements. Even Pakistan, who was lacking in fitness, you can't get a contract now in Pakistan without you passing the fitness test. So however we look at it, there's some people saying, oh, we should do yo-yo tests and cricket is not this and cricket is not that. It doesn't matter what's happening. You need to get up and go and train, and there need to be some personal development. And I don't find that the players are hungry enough. They're waiting on a coach. And why are you waiting on a coach? You've got to go and run. You've got to go and train. These players, they get paid, Michael, to play cricket. If you were coming up in this time, Michael, nobody could stop you. You've been a millionaire. Where you don't have to worry about anything else. You live in a system where you go and you just train. Players don't want to spend back on their own personal development. They're still looking to the Leeward's board, to the Windward's board. The Windward's board is supposed to buy supplements for them. They're supposed to buy this, they're supposed to buy that. But you're getting paid. Hire a trainer. If you feel that the trainer for Leeward Island Hurricane not doing good, hire Michael Bascombe because you're making money. And I don't see that, Michael, coming out from some of the players. Sometimes when you look around the practice, right, you could tell who's going to make runs and who's not going to make runs. Because nobody really pressing the coaches them to say, but I'm going to step back for extra batting sessions or bowling sessions or whatever. When the coach say, we practice in 9 to 2, practice finished, and everybody gone. And we can't produce world-class people if people are just going to bat for 10, 15 minutes. The entire system, the entire structure of the system has to change.
Yeah. And Vernon, you has been in the core of youth development in the Leeward Islands. And again, as a disclaimer, as I said, even though you're the director of cricket operations for the Leeward Islands Cricket Board, you're speaking here in your capacity as the CEO of Vast Media Sports. But you have been at the core of development, youth development cricket. And we all know about the West Indies, youth age group cricket tournaments, whether it's the under 19, the under 15, and things like that. So, but of recent, you said that it's unfair to cricketers in the region and young cricketers in particular when the selection is only based on the West Indies regional tournament. And you believe that there are a number of other tournaments and accredited tournaments, you can say. You use the example of the Springer-VASports schoolboys tournament in Barbados and other tournaments around the region where the selectors, West Indies selectors, can probably look for talent. You want to expand on that?
Let's look at the makeup of school cricket in the Caribbean. It's not every Caribbean country plays school cricket, but some form, shape, or the other, school cricket is a big thing. You have hundreds of teams that comes to Barbados for the Springer-VASports competition, barring 2020 where COVID hit, and so for a period of time, that tournament was cancelled. That competition has produced some outstanding young men from all around the world. We have teams come from South Africa, from you name it, from the United Kingdom, from Canada, you name it, and compete against schools from not only Barbados, but I know at one point in time the Cricket Academy sent a team to the Springer-VASports competition. The Ministry of Sports in Antigua and Barbuda, they also sent a team. And in Grenada, you've got teams from Trinidad. So you've got teams from all around who look forward to go to this competition. But Michael, have you ever heard that they identify a Devon Smith at that tournament? And somebody went there and sat down and said, boy, saw a young prospect. All you hear is that you got to go and play for your regional team. So you got to go and play for Trinidad. You got to go and play for Lewis or Guyana. I'm saying in an area where resources are limited, the talent pool has to be expanded outside of the Cricket West Indies under 15, under 17, under 19. And so you need more nucleus of other tournaments around so you can be able to go and look at and identify talent. I'm not saying that you're going to be able to just jump the gun and everybody's going to get into the system. But what you do is that you set up a talent pool base and you track that talent. Because a lot of politics goes into the islands concerning as to why players maybe don't make Trinidad team or Jamaica team or Leeward Islands team for whatever particular reason. Maybe at the point in time that they were supposed to go to the Springer-VASports competition and the Leeward Islands is having a tournament. So they went to the Springer-VASports tournament, so they weren't able to play for the Leeward Islands. But if you have a scout, I'm not saying they have to be there for the entire tournament, but you just need to be able to have scouts that go to the Springer-VASports competition. One of the things which I was able to spearhead when I was working with the government of St. Kitts and Nevis in the Ministry of Sports Department was that my counterparts in those days was the late Edgar Gilbert, Clemix, Noel Gishard, you had Carl Tuckett, Stroke Williams. So you had a combination between St. Kitts and Nevis. And then we first started Hayden Walsh Senior, that was my colleague. We first started out and had a conversation. You had directors of sports in those days, and you had the likes of Mr. Lloyd Lazar, who passed away last year, and you had Mervyn Richards, and you had people like Cardigan Connor in Anguilla, who's now a minister, Trevor Shillingford in Dominica, Adrian Donovan in Barbados. And so you had a cadre of people who I could have called upon and said, hey, listen, we're having this competition. The competition, the St. Kitts 39 on the cricket competition, before it got broke away, ran for about 17 years. Barbados came for about 14 of those 17 years. Dominica was almost 15, 16. Anguilla, you had Montserrat, you had even at Bermuda, you had Trinidad and Tobago. So that tournament was a fillip now for the regional under 15 teams, whether it was the Leewards, it was St. Kitts and Nevis, it was Barbados or whatever. But when you look at that tournament, Kyron Powell, at 9 years old in St. Kitts, at 9 years old, was scoring 100 at the 13 and under level, which was 25 over cricket. Devon Thomas, same thing applying. Craig Brathwaite from Barbados. These guys were scoring hundreds at the under 13 level at an early age. So look, here, listen to some of the graduates who came to that tournament. Carlos Brathwaite, Craig Brathwaite, Shamar Brooks, Shane Darwish, Shea Hope, Ruston Chase, Jonathan Carter, Christopher John. That's just Barbados. From the Leewards, you have Kyron Powell, Rakim Cornwall, Jama Hamilton, Amari Banks, Devon Thomas. And then, for the winners, Dominica, Kevin has just not broken in yet. But Kevin Hodge used to be the captain for the Dominica 13 and under team that came to that competition. And so many other players would have gone on to play youth cricket. That competition, I've been lobbying with CPL and saying to them, listen, guys, you need to leave a legacy in the Caribbean. Your legacy needs to be able to start from the 13 and under competition. And then you show them the stats, what the competition will have provided over the years. For some strange reason, I'm getting a lot of pushback because some people, some technocrats feel that, oh, that competition will be a little bit too hard. I've even come up with different scenarios. I said, well, you can zone the islands. You can have one zone in the north, one and a second zone in the south. But at least you formulate something so that you can be able to identify the next DJ Bravo, the next Kyron Pollard, the next Fabian Allen, the next Darren Sammy, because that is what you need. Because these players are not going to be around for a long time. So where are we going to get the next Darren Sammy from? Or the next Kyron Pollard? We think they're just going to just drop out of the sky? No, a system has to be put in place to be able to make sure that we identify that talent.
Oh, so in essence, you're really saying that, and probably not your words, but I mean, you can build on my words, that CPL is kind of basically shortchanging our youth cricket, well, cricket in particular, because your not so much formula, but your suggestion is that in terms of a legacy, but also developing cricket at that stage, ensuring that our young cricketers can see cricket as a future as well. And you think to some extent, based on the reaction that cricket and cricketers in the region are being shortchanged by the CPL?
Well, let's say Leewards Windwards. You have the Springer-VASports Patriots, which forms part of the CPL, which is based in the Leeward Islands. And you have the St. Lucia Zooks, which is based in the Windward Islands. So already there, Michael, you have 12 countries that you have to be able to identify talent from. 12. 4 in the Leewards, 4 in the Windwards, 8 in the Leewards. So that's already 12 countries. So already that's a challenge for the folks in the Leewards and the Windwards, as compared to a Jamaica where it's one landmass, Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago, you name it, right? So you have to take all of these things into consideration to recognize now, how are we going to be able to match up to be able to give support? Who gets the most support in this context? Do the owners sit down and figure out a plan? And yes, there's some sort of little coaching program going on. But my point is that the coaching program that is going on is really not identifying who the next Kyron Pollard is going to be. I remember a couple of years ago, Michael, not too long ago, where there was a Benston Hedges coaching clinic that used to go around the region. So Garfield Sobers, Lance Gibbs, a number of players used to go around and identify. They had camps. Maybe that is something that CPL can maybe institute. So if they maybe feel that the competition maybe is expensive or whatever, again, you can use the legends, the Surviv, the Desmond Haynes, the Darren Sammy and company. You can use them and move around the region and design proper cricket camps where at least they can have an eye for talent and be able to formulate something now. So we look for the best of the best coming around from the islands. What was special about that Benson Hedges coaching cricket clinic is that when Sir Garfield Sobers said that Michael Bascombe is a good player and he got selected. So you got special prizes, most outstanding fast bowler, best batsman, XYZ. And they started maybe sometimes with 50, 60 kids. And they narrowed it down until when they came to the final pool with the help of local coaches, but they were the masterminds behind the whole stuff. Maybe that is something that maybe is needed in the Caribbean. And at the time when we identify that talent, Michael, we now put a system in place, a tracking system in place, where we get that team, whoever it is, or to maybe travel, maybe to go to England or maybe go to New Zealand or somewhere. But you identify the best of the best and you send them somewhere.
Yeah. So you also advocating for Cricket West Indies to send scouts across the length and breadth of the Caribbean, and in some instances target some youth cricket tournaments, like you use the Springer-VASports tournament as an example. Probably there may be one, in Guyana or Trinidad or wherever, but you believe that they should probably expand the pool to almost capture the best of the best in terms of youth cricket in the Caribbean.
We got hidden talent, Michael, that we have not seen. And for whatever political reason, it's hampering us. We keep saying that the young players are not playing enough cricket in the Caribbean, or they don't play enough cricket. But let me say to you, Michael, I've been involved in youth cricket for well over 30 years and counting, maybe even 40. That's how close it is. And every year, Michael, the Leeward Islands or Jamaica or whatever produces maybe an under 17 or under 19 team. So to say that, basketball and football and everything is taking over cricket and so, I don't subscribe to that. What I think we really need to do is to be able to have people who have an eye for talent. And I think that is one of the problems which killing us. Let's look at women's cricket. The game in the Caribbean has been affected tremendously, again, because I'm talking about the technical aspects of coaching is also hampering the women's game in terms of development. Because the coaches, how they operate with some of the young players, they maybe don't even have the expertise to deal with women cricketers. And so the women cricketers in the respective countries around the region, they are also left behind because there's no proper program set up. Plus, these days, Michael, people are very reluctant in allowing their boy or girl to go to anybody around. We got a lot of pedophiles around the world, and that is a serious structure. We also have places where the young girls are supposed to go and practice, and there are no proper bathroom facilities to be able to accommodate women. So are you going to send your daughter to that environment? No. So again, you realize that there's going to be a challenge. So I'm saying systems have to go in place. We must start to also hold people accountable. If you give me a job, Michael, as a scout to go around, and you give me a job for 2-3 years, it must be some fruits. I must see some results. I'm not saying that we're going to win, but you need to be able to have a system in place where you can be able to say, hey, we have identified 10 under 19 batsmen. And so we know that our talent pool is good for the next 5 years once these guys get an opportunity. You remember you had a point in time, Michael, where Carl Hooper and Kenneth Benjamin and those guys got a scholarship to go to Australia and play cricket? That is the sort of system that I'm looking at. When you identify the talent, Michael, from the Springer-VASports competition and from the different respective competitions around, you look now to be able to get players now to go to Australia, to go to South Africa, to learn their craft, or to even go to England. That's how we can be able to develop people. We can't develop people alone in the Caribbean, Michael. We have to begin to start to give people an exposure to go to a new environment, new culture, and learn the game.
And you also made a point, Vernon, which I think folks will tend to agree with, is that we in the Caribbean tend to have this, ready-made, we just want things ready-made. And even as fans, it's like ready-made success for West Indies cricket, And you believe that there should be a little patience, and especially if there isn't a development plan, then we may just be spinning top in mud.
Michael, it takes 15 years, between 15 to 20 years to produce a world champion. Let me repeat again, Michael. It takes between 15 to 20 years to produce a world champion. Rakeem Cornwall is 28 years old. At age 12, he was coming to the Springer 13 and under tournament. If you check a majority of the young players who came to that tournament, Michael, they're just about in their 20s. So it shows, that between 15 to 16 years, maybe just under 20 years, for them to develop their craft. You can't, the problem in the Caribbean, we're spoiled. We dominated for so long that we just think that anybody that put on the West Indian colors, that we're supposed to win. But we never took into consideration to understand that he had a point in time when, even when Brian Charles Lara came, as good as he was, he couldn't get into a West Indies team. So he had to learn from the bench. Now, if Michael Bascombe makes 600 and something runs, the people in the window shouting that you're supposed to play for the West Indies team. They don't care who they are. You make 675 runs and somebody want you to get selected straight away. But they had people in the day, Michael, who had to make a lot of runs. And sometimes you used to hear the old saying that people are shell shield bullies and some people are county bullies where they score a lot of runs and so. But I think today we have a lot of people who are regional bullies, but I don't think that they're good enough to be able to play Test cricket. And we've seen the exploits of that. It ain't everybody that make runs that will be good enough to play for the West Indies team, because you might be found wanting when you go to that next level. So my thing is that we can't make the thing easy for everybody. You got to work. You make 675 this year, Michael. Come back next year and make 800. And then you kind of show me that, boy, yeah, the man, they kind of serious. And then come back the next year, you might get 800, but you might get 400. And within the period of the 3 years, you might have already scored like about 10, 12 centuries. Now, I know, Michael, you cricket days when I was coaching under 19, Sherwin Campbell, Al Hooper, set of young cricketers. Them guys used to just score 100 for Badman. Chris Gale, Delroy Morgan, Robert Samuels, Keith Atherton. When you hear about youth cricket, you're looking forward, Michael, and you know. Every time you cover it, you hear, boy, somebody from the Windwards, Johnson Charles make 100. Keith Atherton made 100. Carl Hooper make a big 100. Rami Sawan. Those guys used to score 100 for Badman. Now listen to our youth cricket. You're campaigning to even get young people to score 100. But people want these same players to play for the West Indies. Now, if you can't dominate your regional under 19 level, how are you going to dominate your franchise level or even the West Indies level? So I want to see a hunger for attitude where we score 100. We don't have enough time tonight, Michael, and maybe I'll come back another time. I was doing some analysis on the professional setup from 2014 up until now. And when you look at the ratio of centuries that have been scored a year, Michael, I can't tell you that in one particular year, Michael, we had like 25 centuries from the regional 4-day competition. In the just concluded CG Super 50 competition, we had about 8 centuries, right? Is that good enough? But we had a lot of people, Michael, who got good stats. Some people scored 94, some people scored 97, some people scored not a half centuries, but the conversion rate into big hundreds, that is where we are falling short.
But do you think, in contrast, that we are playing sufficient cricket in the Caribbean, especially and in particular in within the islands, the territorial boards, that there's sufficient cricket being played to give our cricketers enough of these opportunities that you're referring to?
You will never be able to play enough cricket based on finance and because of water that separates us. But you can design systems, Michael, that can be able to help with the progress of the players. So one of the things that need to be established very early o'clock is that we need to have satellite academies set up across the region. Satellite academies meaning that the franchise system needs to be able to have second 11 cricket. We need to have second 11 cricket set up. So I'll give you a scenario. Casey Catty got dropped in 2020 before the competition from the Leeward Island Hurricane after 3 games. There were about 10 games. At the end of, let's say, 6-7 games, Michael, he back in the Leeward Islands team. But how we know that Casey Catty was ready to come back in the Leeward Islands team? Because he was just home practicing with a coach and doing some drills. He wasn't playing any cricket. So my point is, we have to be able to design a system that has second team 11 cricket. So even when the franchises are moving on and they're playing, the players who are the reserve players and the young talent that we have identified are given an opportunity to be able to play cricket. Now, we're going to need some extra funding for that. But if we want to compete against the best of the best, we have to be able to go that way, because what is actually happening is that we're shortchanging the system, because a player might never be ready. You might have 10 games, Michael, and somebody play maybe 7 games, and a guy who's been sitting on the bench for those 7 games is rusty. He hasn't played any cricket, and you throw the ball to him and say, Michael Bascombe, you got to open the ball tomorrow. And 7 games, he's just sitting on the bench. Yes, he's practicing, but there's no game time. There's nothing under his legs to determine that he's ready and fit to go into the whole system. So if we have satellite academies where we identify between 6 to 8 of the best young cricketers in the leewards, in the windwards, in Jamaica or whatever. We have organized system. Even when somebody put the guys for the West Indies team come back home, they form part of that satellite system. Our fitness cultures also have to change. We now have to start educating youngsters from age 15, under 17, and under 19, that in order to play for the franchises, especially the leewards and the windwards, these are the fitness standards for under 15, for under 17, for under 19, and when you get to the professional setup. So if you start grooming those young players at an early age, by the time they get to, let's say somebody like Alex Athens, he would have maybe started a fitness culture and understanding the fitness standards from age 15. So when you get to under 19 level and he comes into Windward Island Volcano setup, he already know what it is like and the things that he has to do. He already knows coming out of a special academy setting of a mentorship program. He has a mentor coming to talk to him, whether it's Joseph Red-Springer, whether it's a past player, John Eugene, whether it's Johnson Charles, whether it's Darren Sammy. So a mentorship program is set up for him, and he understands what the culture is going to be like if he wants to be a professional cricketer. We have to start at that level and start now. If we're not, Michael, then what is going to be actually happening? We're going to see glimpses of talent now and again, but really not consistent enough. We're not going to see another Shivno and Chandapal, Michael, if we don't put systems in place where our players understand that you can't just go to practice and practice from 9 to 2. It means that you got to come back in the afternoon and practice from 4 to 7. Those are the kind of cultures that we have to start to be able to create.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting enough to see that. So Clive Lloyd says that, he was even a water boy, back then. And look, he moved through the ranks as probably, if not one of the best captains of world cricket. But shifting gear a bit, Vernon, the whole issue of cricket commentary in the Caribbean, yourself assisting some way or the other. We even seen, women getting more involved in cricket commentary. Do you think is the right thing to do, and we're going in the right direction regarding the broadcast of cricket in the region?
Well, let's look at the leadership first. The true leadership, the true measure of leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And the current administration, led by Dr. Keith Shallow from the Windward Islands and Ricky Skerritt from the Leeward Islands, have done an excellent job in trying to plan a pathway for cricketers after they finish with the game of cricket. So we have commentary. We also have coaching. They've introduced for the first time male and female coaching courses, foundation coaching courses for the franchise players and for the female players. About 100 and XYZ players got an opportunity to be able to go through that process. That never happened before. And you find that we have not prepared our players, whether they've made it or not made it, for life after cricket. And so Joseph Red-Springer, his name will always call, because he was a pioneer of trying to make sure that he create a cadre of voices, different voices around the region. I came to that program. I remember many years ago when Reds was the OECS sports coordinator. Reds came to St. Kitts and Nevis and conducted a commentators course at OTI. And you had the likes of Red John and Carlisle Powell, number of guys came to Antigua, you had the Jack Matthews and whatever. I don't think from since Reds did that something has materialized enough around the Caribbean. So I know that is one of the plans now for the High Performance Center at the Cricket West Indies in Coolidge, Antigua. They're setting up their own media structure and their own media area. And so now commentary going forward, you're going to hear maybe new voices going forward, new young voices, people like Mally Richards and Anthony Martin, you realize have been coming on stream in Antigua. Carl Tuckett, when he's not umpiring, he also does a little bit of commentary. So that is an area that I know that Cricket West Indies is concentrating on now. And to have the first two females following in the pioneering footsteps of Donna Simmons, who came at a point in time when you had egos. Donna came at a time when some people felt like, where is she going? Who is she? You know, all the stuff here. These two young ladies that have come to now it's almost like a new bit of fresh air. I had the privilege of working with Shamila, and each one's style is completely different. And she grew as the tournament progressed. I think now they have opened up a cadre now where some of the other females in the Caribbean, people like Marissa Aguilera, I think that she could be a good analyst if maybe she wants. But at least seeing just these two young ladies will maybe give her a sense of hope that, hey, maybe it's not too bad. I maybe can get involved and go into the media. So I think it's a good planned pathway. My main focus, Michael, is the umpiring. I don't like how Carl Tuckett is treated. And I tell you in no uncertain terms. You can't have somebody who has made a huge contribution to West Indies cricket and has not been fast tracked. In fact, Carl Tuckett is almost like he's stagnant. He has not gone anywhere. He's just there. I was going to the stats the other day, Michael, and you tell me that Carl Tuckett only do 27 list A games. And I had to go through quick and said, no, something got to be wrong. So I want to see a major drive, Michael. I salute Jacqueline Williams, one of the first females from the Caribbean to be able to get onto the international scene. I want to congratulate Gregory Brathwaite, who will become a test umpire in a couple of weeks' time. I think that is a good move. But since Steve Buckner, yes, we got Joel Wilson on the panel, we now need to go on a major drive concerning our umpires to identify some young umpires fast and furious.
Mm-hmm. Well, you touched briefly on the current administrators rather of Cricket West Indies. I don't know if I can take that as an endorsement, because I know that they are coming up for re-election at the end of this month. Again, I'm saying as a disclaimer that you hear us speaking on under the title of VASports Media, but also as a member of I'm saying that you are also a member of the Leeward Islands Cricket Board, that I don't know if I should take that as an endorsement of the Ricky Skerritt Shallow ticket.
Well, you would know that Trinidad and Tobago Cricket Board and the Leeward Islands Cricket Board has once again supported the present leadership. But Michael, we're in 2021, and you would thought that insularity and racism is supposed to be swept out of our sports. But when you have people telling you that the folks from the OECS and them small islands is not supposed to be running West Indies cricket, you know, politically, Michael, I can put on my political hat here right now. The Eastern Caribbean dollar is the strongest in the world, in the region. And so, you remember you had a lot of people wanted to join the OECS? Because sometimes some people think like some people pretend like they forget. So when you're talking about small island and them small island people ain't supposed to be running West Indies cricket and so, I mean, it's the small island that has dominated for years in terms of administration. Dr. Shala is the youngest vice president. You know, we just lost Clavis Joseph, who was a brilliant mind, who took a risk and moved the West Indies Cricket Board of Control headquarters to Antigua and Barbuda. He went to the national hero, right, Mr. Bird, and said, hey, they have a situation in Barbados where the Barbados government, they plan to work with the West Indies Cricket Board of Control. What do you think, Mr. Bird? And Mr. Bird said, Clavis, what do you think? He said, I want the headquarters in Antigua and Barbuda. And that happened. Look at the fruits that is bearing today. A small island make that happen, Michael. Small island, as we claim. So when people are calling down the OECS, it leaves me alarming. These are the same people, Michael, that have not had elections in Guyana for 12 years. And I don't hear nobody say anything, Michael. But you know if that had happened in the Leewards, we won't hear the end story of that. You think if Enoch Lois didn't call elections in the Leewards, or Julian Charles or Dr. Shallow in the Windwards never called election for 12 years, you think that they could have been running for office? I mean, come on. We got to call a spade a spade. But I'm saying, I can't believe in 2021 that we're talking about small island, especially during a pandemic. Hear me, especially during a pandemic when all of us are supposed to be coming together. So I looking down on somebody from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I don't know where you're going to end up, Michael. I might maybe got to live in Grenada. I might call you and tell you, Michael, but you got a 2 room in Grenada because, boy, things kind of rough here in Antigua, St. Kitts and Nevis, and I maybe need to move there to live. But that's still the level that we get to talking about small island. Well, Michael, you don't have to wonder if Vernon Springer is supporting, and this has nothing to do with the Leeward Islands Cricket Board. This is Vernon Springer's personal opinion. The leadership today has to be way better than what happened before. You know this leadership is why Rakeem Cornwall playing Test cricket. The leadership before said that Rakeem Cornwall didn't look like a Test cricketer and that he was not supposed to play for the West Indies. People tend to forget. When Rakeem Cornwall was supposed to make his debut in Antigua and Barbuda against India, and Jamal Hamilton was supposed to make his debut also at the same time, look what happened. It's pressure. Why Rakeem Cornwall made his debut in Jamaica? Because they launched an attack on Rakeem Cornwall. That he too heavy, he too this, he too thorough, he ain't no cricketer, he's not supposed to play for the West Indies. The same small island people. The same man who just win a test match for us. He went on a tour, get man of the match, and then we travel, and then he can't play, he get dropped. Because people work out that we, rather than we looking at the ability of the man, we're looking at the individual. So we've taken away the context of what the man is doing and look at him and say, boy, he big and he fat. He ain't supposed to play for the West Indies. But we got some people around here, Michael, who supporting NFL teams. And they got guys bigger than Rakeem Cornwall, and they tell you that they're supporting the NFL teams them. But they don't want to support Rakeem Cornwall playing Test cricket for the West Indies. None of them got a bigger heart than Rakeem Cornwall. And when this thing come up, Michael, I hear some of them talking, right, about leadership and questioning Dr. Shalon and Mr. Skerritt and all them stuff and so. Yeah, it's Small Island farm, so I can defend Small Island. In fact, I am defending cricket. It's cricket first, not individuals. What we're looking at is cricket. So we need to be able to find people who are going to lead. The greatest misunderstanding about leadership, Michael, is that people think it is based on position. It is not. It's results people looking for. We're not looking for individuals who can come, right, and dictate and say, Michael is from Grenada, so we ain't picking him. No, we're looking for the best young cricketers. You know the regional leaders in the OECS that battered? Dr. Keith Mitchell, Dr. Ralph Gonzalez, because they talk up and somebody say, well, we're going to shut you up. We don't want to hear anything from you. Dr. Keith Rowley, they went around the bush between me, do the Caribbean leaders them all sorts of stuff because they couldn't get their own way. And once they couldn't get their own way, they had to show you the power. Come on, let's get real. It's about cricket first. And whether or not we win, Michael, people want to wear the maroon. People want to play for the Windward Islands. People want to play for the Leeward Islands. People want to play for Barbados. People want to play in CPL because there's money to be made. So everybody joined in on board. So let's continue and see what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. And an interesting point you made there, because and just adding to what Raw Lewis, who is the team manager of the West Indies team, alluded to the fact that in his recent travels, he realized that there's still folks who want to be part of Team West Indies. There's still this urge, a fervor for wanting to have merchandise of the maroon colors, and it is an indication that West Indies is still a brand, still an international.
But to support that, Michael, we have administrators who, for one particular reason or the other, envy the players. Why are you envying Kyron Pollard for making money, or Chris Gale, or Darren Sammy? It is their time. It is they that make the sport. And this is something which has been craving West Indies cricket for a long time. You remember Packer in 1978 came to the Caribbean and took up a set of players and took them to Australia? What happened under Jeffrey Stallmeyer? Sparrow sang a song. Just banned them. So you see how long this culture has been going against players. Every time the players try to be able to earn some money, and it's the same thing like with the sports in the football. What they want to do is have the young footballers, male and female in the Caribbean, barefoot and pregnant. So they're either going to be able to go pregnant, the men are going to get barefoot or they're going to go jail because nobody is providing any opportunity for the young men and women, especially when it comes to football, to be able to branch off and come up with something else different. It's the same thing they wanted to do with the cricket. It's the same thing they wanted to do with the athletics. So anytime it look like you're going to make some money, you know, when Stanford came, right? People don't like to talk about this, Michael. But when Stanford came, you know, Stanford had a problem with most of the boards around here. When Stanford say, I want to pay Michael Bascombe $10 a day. People say, that's too much money. What is too much money? When you check media rights around the world and you see what money people making, Michael, and somebody come and say, we want to pay $10 a day. And people around here say, no, that's too much money for you. How become too much money for you? And it's you going out there to play? But you see, it's the capitalism and the slavery mentality of our sports administrators that is holding us back. The power structure, Michael, of global sport has changed. And people in the Caribbean have to understand. You see this pandemic? Government saying don't have no money sooner rather than later, Michael, because all they're going to be trying to concentrate on is health. The governments in the Caribbean, Michael, have hugely invested in infrastructure in the Caribbean. You know what has happened, my brother? We have not seen the significant returns on those infrastructure. The track in St. Kitts and Nevis have 2 tracks, Michael. One in Nevis, one in St. Kitts. Antigua and Barbuda getting a brand new Mondo track in a week time. They finish it. They're getting a brand new track. Grenada has a track. Almost every Caribbean country has a track. But, Michael, has the government seen the return on investment? But you still hear people saying, man, they got to put more money in sports, they got to do more of that. So we think it's going to happen now going forward. We have a pandemic. The government now have to find money for vaccines. You know, the sport is, if our sports administrators don't come up to par, you know that some of them small sports, Michael, can be in trouble in the Caribbean. Maybe we have to design another program, Michael, to talk about that, because I'm very much concerned about that going forward.
Yeah, it's a serious concern, and I'm speaking with I spoke to Brian Lewis, who is the president of the Caribbean Association of National Olympic Committees, and he expressed that concern in a program recently that sports administrators have to, you know, for those who don't, have to start putting their thinking caps on, because they have to be innovative and they have to come up with a lot of things. Just before we wrap up on that, Vernon, I just want to show you this. You recall this back then?
Well, you need to send me that. You need to send me that photo. Anyway, you're a man of archives, so I don't even need to worry about that. Please send me that photo.
That's a lot of years ago, and you see the great Jules Respirer sitting in front there.
Oh,
And
yes.
that's how I think he was from Egypt. He was the
Mr. Stout from Barbados.
Mr. Stout from Barbados is also there.
Yeah,
And the great Vernon Springer is on the extreme right. And Michael Bascombe is somewhere in the middle. You know, that's way back when. You know, that's in I think it was in the 80s, the late 80s or somewhere there.
Yes, yeah. You need to send me that picture. That's real touching. It's real touching.
That was back then when we you know, we were deeply involved as young reporters. You know,
so you see how long that is. Some people maybe think we just come.
Jason Harper and you know, Sherilyn Toppin and you know, quite a few of those. I think we may have. I think Keith Clement is also in that photo there from Trinidad.
Yes, from Trinidad.
Yeah. So it went a lot of years gone by. You know, I think it would have been in late, if it's not 89 or 90. I think
it may be 89.
Yeah, somewhere around
because, there.
It'd
be 89. Yeah. Because shortly after that, I went to England for my coaching course, so I know it's mixed between both.
Yeah, we were in that seminar was actually in Barbados, and I think
in Barbados.
It also coincided with a major sporting event in Barbados around that time, so we used it to cover the event.
And both of us also we linked up. There used to be a symposium we used to go to in Trinidad and Tobago. I'm not remembering the gentleman's name.
That was
Tony Harford used to organize it. It was by the Express newspaper. I know now. So we have done the wrongs.
Yeah, very much so. But I want to thank you, and just on a wrap, Vernon, I know we didn't get to talk a lot about it, but you know, a nice victory for the West Indies in terms of the T20 International. Well, it was just a first. I would say a thrilling encounter, nail biting. Obviously, Pollard would have stole the show, but I guess as much it just sets up interest and intrigue for the second T20I coming up tomorrow night.
Well, let me say to you, in 1968, I was 4 years old when Sir Garfield Sobers became the first man to hit 6 sixes in a first-class game. In 2007, the 16th to the 3rd month March in St. Kitts and Nevis at Warner Park, I was privileged to see Herschel Gibbs hit 6 sixes at Warner Park Cricket Stadium. And last evening at the Coolidge Cricket Ground, I again witnessed history where I saw Kyron Pollard hit 6 sixes. Now, in 1968, when I was 4 years old, my father and my uncle and the neighbors and so everybody, anywhere you go, you heard people talking about Sobers. And I couldn't understand what they were talking about until when I established. My father used to play some cricket, but that was the talking point. Sobers, man from Barbados, boy, hit the man for 6 sixes, and that's a major talking point. I'm talking, I was 4 years, and imagine now on, I've been able to still hear that talking point. So it shows you the importance. In fact, last night was a night, Michael, where it's almost like you're looking at the Stanford T20 tournament. You saw everything. An excellent catch, a hat trick, sixes, you name it. And it just brought back little joys of the ground itself. I don't think right now we will see another night like what happened last night. I don't think we will see a repeat of that. And for all the folks who had a chance all around the world to look at that game last night, I know more people even going to be glued in tomorrow night. You have Flow TV coming on board now, and so everybody's going to have their app now, and everybody wants to know, hey, how I could witness the game. Because some people had my radio show on Point FM today, Touchline, and people said, boy, when the guy got the hat trick, they lock off the radio because they thought West Indies going to lose. And then when they wake back up only to hear that Kyron Pollard hit 6 sixes. So people like, well, I ain't missing the next cricket game because I can't believe all that excitement that I missed. So I think it's all good for West Indies cricket, but there's a different energy. There's a new joy. I looked at Jason Holder smiling last night, enjoying himself as if he was relieved of the entire world. And to be able to see that, and he played a major part even last night in the West Indies getting home. So I think this can only go from strength to strength, and I expect them to clean sweep Sri Lanka 3-0 in the T20.
Okay, then. Well, thank you very much. And I want to thank you for being part of our program. Obviously, we leave you with the highlights of the presser with Kyron Pollard today when he spoke to regional media regarding the T20 International. And looking forward. Well, he spoke also about the 6 sixes and looking forward to the rest of the series. Thank you very much, Vernon, and all the best.
God bless you, man. And it was indeed a pleasure in sharing this platform with you. I mean, we've been planning this for a long time, but we've been in different busy worlds. So I hope we don't take a year before we meet again. But God bless you and stay strong, my mentor.
Certainly. Thank you very much. Okay, then.
Begin today's engagement with 2 questions from Mr. Anmar Goodrich Boyce from the nation Barbados. Anmar, please proceed.
Good afternoon, Captain. First of all, what I want from you is to assess yesterday's team performance for me.
I think the main objective was to win the cricket match, first of all. So, we tick that box. In terms of the manner in which we did, I thought the bowling unit was, fantastic, limiting Sri Lanka to 130 odd. And then from a batting perspective, I thought we got off to a very, very good start by the openers. Faltered in the middle, then had a decent partnership and faltered at the end. So again, a couple of things to work on. But having said that, as I said, the main goal was to win the cricket match first and foremost.
Okay, Skip, we're 1-0 up in this series. What are some of the areas that we're going to tighten up and strengthen ahead of the second T20? And how crucial is it now that we've got the lead to go on and wrap up this series and get a win?
Again, as I said, each and every time that, you step on the cricket field, you want to improve. So, from a fielding perspective, I think we were minus in the field. We want to get that into the plus in terms of saving runs. And then from a batting perspective, not losing wickets in clusters and trying to find a way to use our batsmen, to negate the spin, of Sri Lanka. Obviously, that's going to be the challenge. And it's a conversations that we continue to have, and hopefully we can come up with the right methods in terms of combating that.
Thanks a lot, Skipper, and congrats.
Thank you.
All the best tomorrow.
Thank you.
Leighton Levi, please proceed with your question or two.
All right. Congrats, Skip, on a very good win, very exciting win. You mentioned, of course, the challenge of facing the spinners, but we saw the spinners got the bulk of the wickets, and they were the ones that took those wickets in bunches. You have a window of less than 48 hours. How do you address those concerns within the short window of time that you have?
Well, it will only be sort of conversations. Not much practice you can actually do, and we'd have put in the sort of physical practice in a couple of days or before leading up into the tournament. So just having a mental sort of picture of how we want to go about it, the sort of shots we want to play against the spinners and the matchups in terms of how our batsmen go. So it's conversations. We have experienced guys here who have been around for a long time, and you have the younger ones as well who have learned or is continuing to learn and want to impress on the international scene. So I think it's about
yeah, sorry about that. I think we just lost the connection to the feed for that there. I do apologize for that. But basically, Kieron Pollard, I'm speaking about the match, and we had a sort of abrupt end to it. But, we'll hopefully get more of Kieron Pollard in future program. But thank you, folks. Thank you for being part of our program. Coming up on Saturday, we pay special tribute to the former president of Boxing Association of Grenada, Johnson St. Louis. We call Johnson died at his home on Monday following a brief illness. And Johnson will be remembered by the boxing and sporting fraternity in Grenada and in the OECS. Johnson St. Louis, who died on Monday, he was the former president of the Boxing Association of Grenada, previously the Grenada Amateur Boxing Association. I want to thank you for being part of our program and today, and please don't forget to join us on Saturday from 1 o'clock Eastern time. That's 2 o'clock Eastern Caribbean time for another in our series of Talk Sports. It will be the Saturday Sports Special.